All right. Welcome back. Your third time, Lily is back on the show. I think you're the only person, well, maybe Joe from Having a Party, but I think you're the only person that's been on three times because you're just that good. So, welcome
Oh my
back.
gosh. Thanks. I'm so happy to be here again.
And we're also attempting to do video for the first time ever. So, if this is terrible, you'll never see it. And I know Lily will forgive me if I screw it up. So, here we go.
I'm happy to be the guinea pig. That'll be fun.
Well, we are talking today about some of your newest products. You've become this product queen. The new aprons launched at the time of recording like last week, and mine
Two
is
days
mine
ago.
is at home in my mailbox. I haven't been able to see it yet, so I'm excited to put that on later today. And also Charmloons was a big launch that has happened since the last time we spoke.
Yep.
So I thought it would be fun to talk about how in the world you did this because like to think of an idea and turn it into a product and mass produce it and then sell it to people is it seems impossible. I'm sure at times it felt impossible, but like that's impossible.
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. And then it's also like one of those things that once you kind of, just like everything, right? Like once you get the hang of it, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. And then you kind of like set up like this system where you kind of figure out things. I mean, we're still at the beginning stages. Like the stuff that I've launched, I know sometimes on the outside it seems like it's so much, and I always feel like it's not enough. But we're still getting the hang of things, like really getting the hang of things. But every time we launch something, whether it's small or big, um I learn more and more about the community, which is, I think, the most important part of this whole thing. That allows me to, develop product. So that I think is the most, like, what I take away the most, and it helps with like the next product we develop.
Yeah, yeah. And in case people are listening and live under a rock, Lily is behind the Creative Heart Studio and has launched an artist, what do you call it? A line of
We call
artist
it we call it the
accessories?
balloon we call it the balloon artist collection.
Okay, balloon artist collection. So shirts, aprons. You just came out with like the scissors, retractor, carabiner. You have so many things. And then also charmloons, which are like the cutest little add ons to a jumbo balloon, like a little
Mhm.
tail that can be totally customized. So you have to click back in the show notes to check these things out on your website. The other question that I know I'm going to get because we're doing video is where did you get the jars behind you, Lily? So go back.
Great.
I will link to that episode too if you want to see how Lily organizes her balloons. It's the way I organize them now. Everybody uses these clear jars, and we will link to that episode with Lily about organization as well. So all these things I have to think about now that people can see us.
I know, right? Which is actually a really good start to talking about product development, because when I posted this my workroom review or whatever, I got so much engagement, so many questions, like so many things about just like where to find things. And I thought, well, what do you mean? And then people were like, well, do you have something like this? Do you have something like this? So that's kind of where like the whole thing started, where I was like, okay, I had created obviously balloon mosaics, and then we were a completely digital based business, completely digital. Everything was digital. We didn't have any products or anything like that. I was just creating content and selling a digital product. But then I started, like, because I don't do installations full time like most balloon artists. I started, and but I go to the conventions and I have a lot of interaction online. I would look at, like, I would literally stalk you guys, like all the balloon artists, like all the balloon artists that go out, and I would look at the reels. I mean, not the reels, the stories of what people were doing when they were setting up, and I would notice that there were like just like random duffel bags on the floor, and like random like toolboxes, or like a random backpack or something. And I'm like, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a nice clean bag? That's where it all started. With a nice clean bag that would be nice and organized. Obviously, we all know I'm super like type A, so I love everything to be organized. And I had a laundry basket that I loved because I used to use it like to take stuff back and forth to the beach and stuff like that. And I thought, this is a great bag. However, I didn't feel like it was strong enough, and it wasn't that cute. Like, you were limited to so many designs. So I told my husband, which it's funny because yesterday he was telling me, "Do you remember when you told me I want to do a bag for balloon artists?" And I'm like, "What?" And I was like,
Well,
"Yeah."
and Anthony works in your company full time, right?
Anthony is, yeah, he's my business partner, and he actually is an architect turned graphic designer. So having him on board did make this process so much easier because I literally can just draw what I need, and we both speak the same language since we met in high school, which was a design high school. So we speak the same language. Like I can draw something and I can be like, "This is what I want." I mock it up, and then he's like, "Got it," and he understands it perfectly. So that
I can't
is the
I can't even tell you how different that is from my husband. We're renovating this house and I'll like draw a picture and he'll just be like, I don't get it. And then I'm like, what don't you get? Like getting these
no.
big
So
fights.
I definitely have a huge advantage with that because he totally understands all of this. Like, I don't know how to work Illustrator. I know Photoshop, but I mean, that's limiting. So I'm just like, well, I just like want this. Can you just like, just make it happen? And then like
Yeah, yeah.
he understands it. He gets a vector. He's the one that does all the digitals anyway. So he vectorizes all my drawings, all my ideas. And then I'll be like, okay. And then I love that because then I'm just like, well, I don't really like this tone because I'm very particular about color. So I'm like, well, I don't want this tone. And then I'll play with like our Pantone book, which I love. And then he kind of puts that in and then he handles um all the communication with manufacturers and factories, which is great for me too, because then it allows me to still be creative.
Like, okay, this is getting ahead of things, but just like that sentence, he handles everything with the manufacturers and the like. Well, where do you find a manufacturer? Like, what got you from idea to actually like production? Obviously, it was a long process, but like at any point where you just like, I'm scared, or like, I don't know how much this is going to cost, or
Yeah.
like, you just
No,
did it anyway.
I wish I could like I should have done like just because I feel weird doing that. But you know how some people record themselves when they're going through the
You
process
totally
of
should.
and they record themselves crying. If I recorded myself crying, I could make a movie just for the times that I cried. I'm always crying, and you know because you're frustrated. Also, you know when you're producing product, the cash flow is really important because you don't know if you're gonna make that money back. Like it's not like a digital product where it's kind of like, well, I did the investment of like creating the project, but that investment itself is not that large. And then it's kind of like that's evergreen on the website and it's just always going to be there. But product, you don't exactly know what your consumer is going to purchase. You can kind of gauge it based off like research. Um, but I didn't know 100%. So we went pretty safe. Like when we first launched the bag and the aprons, the first version of the apron, we went very simple. We were just like a black bag with the balloon artist, the balloon drawings on it, the matching apron, and then we said, obviously, because we all know I love pink, we said, okay, let's do a pink version because I know there's a lot of people who want pink also. So we went very safe with that, and that worked. It worked really well. However, the black
Can
one
I ask
sold.
what like what's the minimum that you have to do when you like? Is it 1,000? Is it 10,000? Like I have no idea, or is it
So
different
it's different with
depending?
every manufacturer. Like it's different with the different factories. But this factory, because we were doing all the pieces in one shot, we were able to do 1,000 pieces. So I know. So we did
That's
a
still a
thousand.
ton.
It's still a ton, yeah. So we did 1,000 pieces, but it was able to like um kind of divide it up against amongst everything, so it worked. And also, when you have something that's like a print, a custom print, and they have to manufacture this custom print, the minimums are a lot higher.
Yeah.
So that's why we kind of kept all the print together, like the print the same amongst all of them. Now with this new version, we were able to kind of divide it. We kind of did solids, and it was a little bit better. And we already had an established relationship, so that really did make a difference
Right, right.
because they worked with us a
Um,
little bit more.
and what was kind of you said you were watching these Instagram videos and seeing people like me carrying around. You know what I used as my bag? I used a diaper bag
Well, that
because
makes sense. They have all the compartments. Yes, it
because it
makes
had all the
sense.
compartments and because
Exactly.
like it was a backpack but it unzipped all the way, you know, like to be like a little changing pad. So I'd show up with a diaper bag. What an idiot. So when you made the stuff I was like, yes, I need one.
So I started
um
with that laundry basket, and then I thought, well, this is what I use when I do installations. When I've done like installations, what I hated was that it would kind of collapse on itself if there wasn't something inside of it. And then it was just a bag. It was just a big open bag. So things would just get lost in the middle of it. Just like, of course, if you have a duffel bag, whatever it is. And of course, I would try to organize it. And I'd had like little Ziploc bags and this, but it was just like a mess and I hated it. So I'm like, this is like awful. So I told Anthony, I was like, so what if we did a balloon artist bag? And he's like, you think people are going to buy that? And I'm like, I would buy them. I would buy like 20 of them. But you can't gauge it based off of what you would buy, right? We're all different.
Right.
So I did pick like a few balloon artists who I kind of like used as my like gauge. So I would pick somebody. I picked you, obviously. You're like my number one. Like I always like my singular focus group. But I knew you weren't the kind of balloon artist like me who was all about like the cutesy stuff and I wanted this. I know you're all about function, practicality, and making things efficient. So I knew that you would give me the functionality, and I remember asking you questions like, "Oh, what do you take when you install? What do you this?" And then we kind of had that conversation. Then I reached out to a few other balloon artists and I asked them what they used, and people were telling me like a duffel bag, a backpack, somebody said they had like a rolling cart that was like for tools from like Home Depot or something like that. So I kind of took all of that together and I'm like, okay, what people are missing here, I think it's like the compartments and being able to keep everything organized. So I said, okay, let's go based off of this laundry bag. And then I started redesigning the entire thing with my own like specs and then the metal pieces that I wanted to make sure were there to hold it up and like all the pockets on the outside. I wanted to make sure that it also wasn't like something that you couldn't carry because I knew it would cost more to have something that would roll. So we were like, okay, let's start like that. And then seeing people set up, one of the things that I always get really frustrated with is I would just throw my fishing line on the floor and then it would get tangled on a chair, on a leg, like somewhere. So I'm like, this is so annoying. And then I started seeing I was like, oh, people have like, they put them like in like a box or they put it in their bag or they put it in their apron or like whatever. But I'm like, it comes out. And then you're the one that told me, oh my gosh, it would be so great if there was like a hole where I could just keep my fishing line and it didn't go all over the place. And I'm like, oh, that's so genius. So
I showed someone that at Balloon Wonderland and they were like, I
yeah,
thought that's where you were just supposed to like tie something to. Like I thought it was just a rivet for no reason. But you know what? I can't take credit for that. I saw Chris Adamo do something. He had a little fanny pack or something, and I saw him do that at Float like 5 years ago. But like those are the things that I take away from conventions. It's never like this huge new thing I'm gonna offer. It's like,
right.
that is my tip. Like take my little fishing line tip is the one thing I took away that year.
So I would also see like different stories of people like, this is how I do this. This is how I pack this. And I'd be like, okay, okay, okay. And then, so I kind of started going, so I said, okay, I provide already something that helps balloon artists, right? Which are the templates. How can I grow on that? And I knew it would be a product, and I love and it's I have fallen in love with product design. So I was like, okay, so let's kind of start with that. So we started with that, and then Anthony started reaching out to like manufacturers in China. We tried stateside first, but unfortunately, it's just like triple. It's like so much more. Like it wouldn't have been a cost effective bag. So we found a manufacturer. We looked at their reviews, the ratings, all that stuff, and then we just started the conversation back and forth on what we wanted, the specifications, all of that. And then he obviously did his magic with all his like mock-ups and the positioning and all the measure, like it was amazing. And then they manufactured samples for us, and then we received them. So that's the other thing too, it's like such a long process, right? We received the samples, and once we received the samples, we made some changes off of the sample, and then they revised it, but then we didn't want to wait to get another sample. So we were just like, send us pictures, send us a video, and we're fine because we wanted to get it out for Black Friday. So we're like, oh man, we're like, I don't know if that's going to work, whatever. By the time they started producing, that was when that whole issue started happening with the supply chain, that like
Yeah, yeah.
remember that the cargoes were like held, and we were like, oh crap. They were supposed to be here within 30 days and they didn't get here till they were supposed to arrive the first week of November of that year. We didn't get them till we came back from float. They got, which was in
Yeah.
January of the following year.
I remember that because you wanted to bring them to Float, and then they were like sitting on your doorstep the day you got home from Float. But Float, let's talk about Float because that was kind of your first like
Yes.
in-person reveal, right? And was it what you expected or was it better?
It
Like how
was,
were they
it was,
received?
it was great. We also had apparel at Float. So
Yeah, yeah,
I've always been really hesitant to do apparel just because apparel is so unique to everybody and everybody's very different, right? Um, like my style is very simple, but it has color in it. So it was really hard to, as a brand, obviously, I wanted to make sure I stayed true to myself, but that I also would make the consumer happy, right? And give what the consumer what they wanted. But I wanted to stay true to myself because I knew if I did like an all around print of like all balloon stuff, that wasn't going to work for me because that's not me. That's not my style,
right.
right?
You wouldn't wear that. Yeah,
Like, I wouldn't wear that. Like I love it. Like my friends that Decoraciones Globo that launched their line, it's super colorful, it's beautiful, but it's totally representative of who they are. I wanted to make sure this was representative of who I am. And even
yeah,
though my feed is like really pretty and it's all colorful and it's very like, really aesthetically pleasing, I basically wear black and gray.
yeah.
And then like my Vans, because I always wear Vans, my Vans and my headbands are like my only color. So I knew I had to like stay within that style. So we were like, okay, let's just start with some designs. We kind of I remember I kept telling Anthony, I want to be the Kanye. I want to be the Kanye of the balloon world. Because I wanted everything very simple. I wanted everything very simple. So we kind of started with that. We went off some designs using the same print that we had on the bags. And we kind of did some stuff with that, like just like a standard little embroidered balloon dog, an embroidered balloon. And it did really well, but I went a little bit crazy and I got pink shirts and those didn't sell as well.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I wouldn't wear a pink t-shirt and I love pink, but I wouldn't even wear a pink t-shirt because that's just not what I wear. I like to wear black. So then I
Is there
started noticing,
anything else? Is there anything else that you thought was totally going to sell that didn't, or something that you didn't think people would be obsessed with, but they were? Like, was there anything that was a
yes. So
different than
the
your
little
thought?
notepads, do you remember the notepads, the long ones?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I thought those were gonna sell like crazy. I thought those were
yeah.
gonna sell because I write notes everywhere. I literally leave. I always have notes, and I specifically design them with a graph paper print on it because I love graph paper because it helps me draw to scale in a much faster way without having to sit there and measure. I decide what my measurement is on each square, and then I can just draw it. It makes it so much faster for me. So I thought, oh my gosh, balloon artists are gonna love this from like to plan a quick sketch. Nope, didn't sell. Like we still have a few, and we didn't order that many, so I'm glad we didn't. But I totally thought that was gonna sell like crazy. And recently in this launch, we were afraid of the scissor reel. I was afraid the scissor reel, like the retractable scissor reel, wasn't going to sell as well. And so was somebody, my husband. He was like, I don't know why do you want to order so many? And I'm like, I really think people might use this. I'm like, but let's try with. We didn't get that many, and we're like, let's just try with a few. So we ended up. I think we ended up buying 100. They sold out the first day. Like by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they were gone. We were like, what? I was like, look at this. This sold so much faster than we even thought. And on top of that, oh, I keep thinking we're like on a live. On top of that, I didn't think people were going to want to customize them, but they did.
And they are. Are
Because
you
I love,
customizing
we customize and that's another thing which has to do with charm loons is we actually we manufacture charm loons ourselves. We make it ourselves. So we invested and got the machine so that we could do them ourselves. So now we can use the same machine and we can do the engraving and all that stuff for
That's amazing. Okay,
for the reel.
let's take a quick break, and I will. I forgot people can see us. That's gonna have to get used to that. I'm like, no, we're not really gonna take a break, but we're gonna take a break, and then we will hear from a sponsor, and then let's talk about the new line and charm loons because I'm interested to hear like what you changed, the new details because I know you
Yeah,
made a lot of
the
changes.
aprons
So
had a lot of changes. Yeah.
okay, let's take a quick break, and then we will be right back and talk about all the new goodies. Okay, I don't know what I'm gonna do for the video at this point. I guess if you're watching,
You're just gonna have to cut it, I guess, and edit it.
yeah, I guess. I don't know. All right, who cares? All right.
You can put the logo.
Yeah, ugh. Just
Of
like,
the
but like the video is still going and it's just like floating. All right. All right, welcome back. And we are going to chat about all of the new stuff. So, again, you've just relaunched the aprons 2 weeks ago. How'd it go? Good launch?
Amazing.
Okay, good. So,
We
what is,
I'm
I,
so incredibly grateful.
well, I know some of the details that you changed, but let's talk about that. Like, I think that would be hard to launch a product that you know you're probably going to change. Like, you want that feedback, but also I'm so sensitive. I would be like I would cry if people gave me criticism, but I'm sure you got some, not even criticism, just feedback because you
Feedback.
changed some things. So how did that come about?
You know what's interesting? I mean, you and I, we talk so much, right? And we both know we're both very sensitive, and I'm a very sensitive person. So when it comes to my balloon work, my artwork, and things of that sort, I'm a little bit more sensitive. Um, because I think I pour so much more of my heart into that. That's just an aesthetic or something that you love, right? Like it's just your style. But with the digital templates, I kind of feel like I got used to feedback. And, every time somebody would be like, when I would see that people were asking me the same question, I'm like, okay, nope, we need to add that into the templates because that's an issue. And we would do an update. Every time somebody would ask for another size, we're like, okay, we got to do an update. So that kind of helped me with the product manufacturing because I don't take it personal. And at the end of the day, I want to sell my product. I want to sell my product. I want it to do well, and I want people to love the product. So I want the feedback. Actually, I spoke about this on my live the day of the launch that I actually feel like I don't get as much feedback as I would like. Like I would love more feedback. When I post like
Oh,
those
interesting.
question boxes, I don't really get like a ton of responses. And I wish I would because I really, really have fallen in love with like the product development for the balloon artist industry. I feel like it's a small niche, but it's we need it. We need these things. I think they haven't been thought of before. Yes, there's been aprons. Yes, there's been different clothing lines. Of course, there's all that stuff. But I feel I've really honed in on the specific needs of just this market, and I really really love the feedback. So I don't get offended if people tell me like like I don't get my feelings hurt for that for some reason. I get my feelings hurt for everything else, but not for that.
So
Yeah.
what did change? I know. Okay, and also I'm a terrible friend, but did you relaunch the bags yet or no?
No, because the bags,
Oh, okay.
I was having a hard time with the feedback on the bags. So I have a sample of the bag. So when I went to Wonderland, I don't remember if you saw it. Remember the pink and white checkered one? The pink and white checkered bag, and then I took it to Balloon University too, but I didn't really use it because it was a different, like it was like a different format. But at Balloon Wonderland, I used it a lot because I wanted to see what it was going to be like if it was going to be beneficial because we have thicker metals on the inside and the bottom is harder. So one of the things a lot of people when we launched the first bag that I did get the feedback from was I wish I could put a heavier inflator in it. I mean, yeah, I mean, and I'm kind of torn with that because it's kind of like it's a bag. It's not like a truck. It's a bag.
Yeah.
So like I know like a couple of my friends like they just like stuff the bag with so much stuff. I'm like, you guys know it's a bag, right? It's like not a truck. Like eventually, if you put the Air Force in there, I mean, you might break it. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
But I did want to, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the word. I did want to accommodate and I did want to, listen to that feedback. And so I know a lot of people wanted a harder, like a little bit of a thicker bottom. So it felt sturdier, which I think is so important. Of course, I didn't think of it the first time, but that's just how that's just how this works.
Right.
And then the metals, I definitely wanted them to be thicker because I remember trying to shove through a door and one of my metals snapped and I was like, oh man,
Oh,
because I shouldn't have done what I was doing. But
yeah.
then I thought, okay, if I do a thicker metal, maybe this will avoid it a little bit. Like it'll help. So
Interesting.
I had a hard time getting that feedback and figuring out what I really wanted to do. And the thing I've struggled with the most for the new bag is what design to come out with. That's what I've struggled with the most. So because I know that that's going to be a bag that's going to be on the floor all the time. People are going to throw it on the floor. It's going to get more wear and tear than the aprons.
Right. Yeah.
So
So dirt and stuff. Yeah.
but I've had so many requests for a pink bag. So I'm like, I don't know what to do yet. I'm just kind of like, what do I do? I mean, by the time this comes out, we'll have ordered the new bags, but
Okay.
I don't know. As of today, we have to make a decision by like Sunday. What I'm finally doing with the design of the bags, and we'll figure out what that's going to come out. But that's the bags. But the aprons, the new aprons, have a few different features, and I'm just gonna grab one really quick so I don't forget what the features are, like the changes. So one of the things that I did for the apron that didn't change was the strap, right? So the strap is a long strap. It goes up to like 65 inches because I'm not a small, tiny girl. And I always have a hard time finding aprons that are comfortable for me and that will stay on. And I wanted to make sure that this was adaptable to like everybody. So it does adjust, which is great. So you can have a tiny waist and it will adjust. I mean, if you're like, I don't know, like an 18-inch waist, maybe not, but like, you know what I mean? Like it goes small, but it also goes really large, which I love too. And then what we did was for the people who are smaller and you have like that extra belt strap, we added the loops on the aprons in the front so that you can tuck it in. And that way it's not hanging, even though you could probably cut it and just like burn it a little bit with a lighter so it doesn't fray. That's that. And then we added the zipper that you recommended. We added a zipper in the front, in the middle pocket, in the back to kind of keep like your phone, cash, like that stuff
Can
safe.
you hold it up so I can
Yeah.
see it? And then if you're listening, this episode will be on YouTube so you can see. Oh, okay. So now I'm looking at it. Yeah,
So it
yeah. Oh,
has
that's
this,
perfect.
yeah, so it has this zipper, the new that has a zipper so you can keep it keep your stuff safe. And then we added the little grommets on the sides of the apron because I spoke to what a balloon maker that she was like, you know what I do? She was like, I put a carabiner onto the she was putting it onto this piece. She was putting it onto the belt strap and she hangs her bags there with like those little filler balloons for the garlands. So when she's on a ladder, she's just grabbing that. So she was like, "Oh, if you had like a loop where I could put a carabiner, it would be great because it won't. I don't have to worry about the bag coming undone from the belt strap." So I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh man, that's so perfect." So we did the two grommets on either side. 'Cause I'm left-handed, so I wanted to make sure I had it on both sides.
See, I wouldn't have thought about that. I would have done it on one side. That's so
Yeah,
smart.
no, that's why we did it on both because I'm left-handed, so I do everything opposite. So
Hmm.
I
Interesting.
wanted to make sure that my left-handed and my right-handed people could both feel comfortable. And then we got the carabiners, of course, in a heart shape so that you could attach it and then you can attach whatever you need to it. Then I remember talking to you and my friend Yandira, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, those scissor things would be so helpful, but the ones I always use, they suck." And you told me the same thing that because they're not retractable scissor reels, they're badge reels.
Exactly. They only extend like a foot. So when you're on a ladder trying to cut something with scissors, like it literally prevents you from doing what you're
Right. So,
supposed
and
to
it's
do.
not intended for that. It's intended just to kind of come out like 12 inches to a door, and that's it. Because it's not intended for that. So when you spoke to me about that, I was like, oh man, like, what if we got that made? And then somebody pushed back, and I was like, I really think we need it. I'm like, I really think we need it. And he was like, okay, let's do it. He's like, let's just order some and let's see what happens. And I'm like, okay. So when I spoke to the manufacturer, we had the cord extended to 36 inches because we figured if somebody was 6 feet tall, half of it was 36 inches. So that extended the full length of your arm. And I remember you telling me, and I tried it too after you told me, I tried to like snap the reel, the badge reel, and I remember it snapped and it hit my finger, and you had told me it did
Oh
it
my
to you
gosh, and then
too.
it hits your knuckles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we did was I was like, well, what if we had an attachment that had a carabiner on it, and then you can attach it to the grommet of the apron.
Look, I have mine. Hold on. I'm gonna grab mine. Oh wait. I swear I had it. I just saw it in my purse. Maybe I took it out and put it by my balloon stuff, but all my stuff ended up in weird places after Balloon Wonderland. I still am finding things.
Well, you know that I lost mine for Balloon Wonderland right before we left, and I was so upset. And then when I came home and I was cleaning stuff out, I found it. I was so upset because I couldn't. Yeah,
Look how cute. And mine is, can
it's
you
so
see
cute,
that?
and mine
Mine
is
has
pink.
my name. Was mine a prototype?
Yours was the first one we ever did. Mhm.
It's like a collector's item.
So then
Love
we
it.
did the key ring at the bottom because I know that this plastic thing, the little plastic loop, isn't necessarily always strong enough. So we were like, let's do a key ring because that will hold the scissor and it's not going to go anywhere.
And like, what is this? Because it's not string, is it?
So that one is different actually.
Oh, okay. Well, what are they now?
So there's this one is like a regular black cord. That's the one we're gonna do now. The one you have is the one we're doing now. We're gonna bring those in now because that one has a metal cording because um this cording with this is like a regular cord. It's you can accidentally cut it if you're not careful.
Oh, okay.
I did that at
So
Balloon
you,
University.
so are you doing this one or
Now
that
we're gonna
one?
do that one. No,
Because you
now the
can't
one
cut
you
it.
have is the one we haven't. That one's not. That one's like on order now.
Okay.
Yeah, so that one will be new. But this one, I used it, and then it was so good. I used it at Balloon University, and I was so happy I had it, and it was great. And what I did the customization because I love everything custom, but I did the customization because I know one of the biggest complaints people have is somebody took my scissors. Somebody took my scissors. So I'm like, well, if you customize it, nobody can take your scissors, and it's on a key ring, so like you can't take it. Like you just can't
That's
take
so
it.
funny.
So
No,
I try
totally.
to think as much as possible of everything. But yeah, so and then the other thing we did was I don't think anybody ever noticed this in the other aprons, but I did and it was driving me crazy. This piece on the apron and the other one because the pockets are nice and large, it would it would bulge a little bit. So I had them like manufacture it to the work. I'm like I need you to pull it and stitch it all the way across. So and now they're all like this and now they're perfect and flat and they make me happy. So then the other thing we did was the pockets at the bottom, like the three pockets from the bottom, were lower. So what we did was we brought these up. So that way the fishing line
Oh,
was a little bit more secure because I experienced one time that my fishing
deeper
line
in
popped
there.
out. Yeah.
Mm.
So with this deeper, it's like more secure in there, like the fishing line or whatever you put in there. And then the material is like slightly lighter. And it's just so it's a little bit less heavy. But I know it doesn't it's literally an ounce, but it was a big deal to me. So
Well, you can clearly tell that you like really like this. And I know you like it because we text all the time, but like the actual product development, see, I think I would get very exhausted. Like I would just be like, whatever, it's good enough. Or if I needed another sample or another design, I would just be like, I just don't really care that much. I'm like going to give up.
no,
So
but
it's good
I
that you
I
really
love
like
it.
it.
I really do love it. I do love it and I really do love ever since I was small, like I love to find solutions. Like that's one of the things I enjoy the most. Like my favorite part of designing is the design process. It's not even the outcome. Like the execution is not even my favorite part. My favorite part is the design process. It's like figuring out the solution, like figuring out how to make this work, figuring out the right proportions. Like that's what I love. I've always loved that since I was small. So
Yeah.
I think that because of that, I'm like obsessed with product design now because I think it's so cool. Like if you can solve somebody's problem or solve an issue for someone and it's like an entire market, why not? Like and you can make a business from it. It's great. Meanwhile, you're helping everybody by providing a product that is cute. It's functional, and then you add just like stuff to make it cute,
The
like
accessories
the
I love.
patchwork.
Well, and the thing that I've learned too, the older I've gotten, the more I've realized like I just assumed like if this is a problem that I have and other people have and it's so easily identifiable, surely someone's going to solve it. Like surely a manufacturer is going to solve this or this big company or that big company. And like that's just not true. Like a lot of times the people that solve the problems are Lilly and her husband, or someone else who's working in the trenches, who's like, there really needs to be a solution. And if you don't do it, it doesn't mean someone else is going to. Sometimes there's just like a problem that it's just like you just have to figure it out, and there's an opportunity there.
I also think that what ends up happening is, in my opinion, is when it becomes a manufacturer, like when it's a bigger company, I don't think they're specifically looking at, I think they're not specifically looking at those specific needs. They're kind of just gauging it based off of a surface level, and then they'll just make the product the best they can. And if it works and nobody has really said anything, then they're not going to change anything on it. Versus
Yeah.
if you're actively trying to make the product better and you're asking, and I remember DMing people that I would recognize from the orders that we got, and I would be like, I would love to know your feedback once you've used it for like 2 months. Please tell me your feedback. I want to know your feedback. I want to, and I was like almost like harassing people because I really wanted to like know what I could do better. So I think that when it's like at a small scale like that, like what we're doing, I guess it would be more like a boutique style business. Then I
Hmm.
think that those needs are a little bit easier to meet because we're more involved, and I'm in the trenches, like you said. Like when I'm going to the conventions this year, I'm just like I want to like figure out what it is that they're doing. Like what are they using? How are they doing this? Like so, I was really looking at all that stuff when I've been going to the conventions this year, and that helps me with like the product development.
Very
And
cool.
not
Well,
all of
and
them
then
make it, so.
before, I don't want to end quite yet. I do want to talk about charm loons. So let's talk about that's like a whole other, I mean, still the same concepts. You design the process, you went through many prototypes, but less of an apparel tool and more of a decorative piece. So let's talk about those. Like how did that come about? What was different about that process?
So charm loons started just like balloon mosaics by mistake. So the because I create content, I'm always thinking like how can I help the industry have something else to offer their client? Like how do I help the industry do something cool? How do I take a distortion technique and make it simple where like I always tell people like I literally use the one exact same distortion technique and I make a million things because I just kind of like look at that and I want to make it easier, even though it doesn't look easy, but I promise it is. But so what I did was I don't like that vinyl. I hate that the vinyl doesn't go perfectly flat on balloons. That drives me crazy. So I was just like, man, like how cool would it be to? And I hate getting on my Cricut. I hate doing all of that. Like and it's so I know it's interesting because some people are like, well, you do mosaics, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't care. I love that. That's easy. But getting on the Cricut, turning it on, getting on the computer, that drives me
No, I
crazy.
agree. I don't like it either.
It drives me
It takes a
crazy.
lot of time. I kind of
It,
burnt out. At first, I was like, this is amazing. Everything should be customized. And now if there's like a Cricut, I'm just like, ugh, I hate
and
it.
they look so beautiful, but then what I feel like happens is, and I know like it doesn't matter because you're just using it for that one day, and then if it's extra, it stays a few days extra, then that's just a plus. I know it's not a big deal,
Right.
but I know like when it starts to deflate, like it starts to crinkle or whatever. So I love that they look so beautiful like that, but I was like, well, what if there was like a way where, oh, and then when the balloon bars were popping up, I'm like, what if there was a way that it was like faster to customize and you didn't have to like, if somebody came in and they wanted to do like happy birthday, or you just had a foil, or you didn't have time to do a vinyl, but you already had a pre-printed 3 foot balloon. Like, how could you customize it? So I was playing around to do a content for Valentine's Day in 2019, 21, no, 2020. It was 2020. And I was like, oh, how cool would it be if like I had seen a graphic that I was for this charity, and it was a balloon that was like a heart, and it said my husband designed it, and it said hope, right? And I thought, oh man, this would be cool. And he redesigned it to say the charity's name. And I'm like, what if I could do that in real life? Like, what if I could do that? So I started playing with polymer clay, and I started using with like one of those I don't know what the extruders. And I took the extruder, I put the polymer clay in it, and I'm like, well, and then I drew the name Alyssa because she's like my prototype for everything. I drew the name Alyssa, and then I just placed the polymer rope on top of it, and I did it all, and then I baked it. And I put like little holes at the ends, and I'm like, let's see if this works, because I knew that once it dried, it would be light enough that it wouldn't weigh the balloon down.
Mhm.
So I did it and I attached it. I took a picture, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. But then, of course, I was like, who the heck is going to sit here? If everybody complains about balloon mosaics, they're going to complain about now having to get polymer clay and having to do the extruder. And so I'm already like so burnt with the balloon mosaic thing that every time I see something, I'm like, just, I know. If you don't like it, don't do them. Okay? Stop complaining. If you don't like them, don't do them. Just stop complaining. so that I could just hear everybody complaining about the, oh my gosh, now I have to get extruded. So I didn't even post it actually in 2020. I was
Okay.
just like, I'm not going to post this because Anthony was like, this is really cool. He's like, but
Well,
that,
okay, pause. Because that was going to be my other question. Do you ever come up with something that you were going to post, but you're like, actually, this might be something, so I'm
yeah,
not going to post it? Because as soon as you put it out there, you just, yeah,
there's a
yeah,
ton of things that I'll make and I'm like, oh, wait, I'm like, hold on a second. And then I just kind of like, I'm like, backtrack and I won't post it. So then I was like, okay, maybe we can make this with Anthony because he has more of like that mentality of like, how do we produce this quick? I'm more of like, this is so beautiful. I don't care if it took me 40 hours, but that's not the reality of most balloon businesses. You guys have like, we have to go quick. Like, that's, it's profit at the end of the day. Like, it's a business. So he was like, how about if we figure out how to make this and people can just customize them? And I was like, all right, let's do it. So I think we went through, and I feel like I change this number every day, but I want to say it was between 8 to 12 versions of charm loons because there were so many factors that were involved. Because when something's pretty, it's pretty. But then when you're going to sell it, and then now with like the experience I've had in the balloon industry, and I know how most balloon artists work, I'm like, wait a minute, it needs to be something that is quick. It's something that's an add-on. It's something that they don't have to learn brand new. That's going to take like a new set of skills. So I'm like, what do we do? How do we fix this? Like, how do we do this? So we went through a whole bunch of variations of it, and then we figured that the easiest way, I knew that everybody was going to love the script because it just looked like it was part of, like the string of the balloon. So that was the original idea. But I knew that that wasn't realistic because if your client called you on a Wednesday and you needed it Saturday, how were you going to get it? Like that didn't make sense because there was no way to do the script linked. There's no way to do that. And it wouldn't be strong enough. So then we thought, well, why don't we do it vertical? And we just do like a chunky font that you can see. Cause that was another thing too. I was like, I want people to be able to see it. Like if it's skin, like you're not going to see it. So we started going through that. And then there's the fact of like gravity, balance, wind. There was so many factors. So we tested and tested. I would leave 3 foot balloons outside in my backyard, testing all the different ones because I wanted to make sure it wouldn't snap. It wouldn't, there were so many things. And then it was the material. Because then it was like, how do you do the material? It has to be light enough. What kind of balloon is this going to work on? Like, it's just, it's a lot of testing. And it took almost 2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years to finally be able to get it out. And then in Flow, the beginning of this year, we had samples and we were showing everybody, and everybody's like, this is really cool. Oh my gosh, they're like, if I can buy the whole alphabet and I can just put them together myself, this is an easy way to customize something. And I was like, yes, that's exactly what my mentality was, right? And then, of course, I've always wanted to have my own balloon line. So I'm like, and if I designed 3 foot balloons that were beautiful, that just said like, happy birthday, real pretty, then you just have to add the name. Done.
yeah,
Back to school. Done. Like it would be so much faster. So that's where like that all developed, was because I knew that the trend of the customizations was so popular. So I thought, how can I make that process for everybody faster? And they don't have
yeah,
to customize every single balloon with the Cricut and changing the font and changing the color of the vinyl. I'm like, this might be an easy way to do it. So um we ended up changing the material from what we showed at Float. We ended up changing it, and then because it was more durable, the new one, and we were like, okay, that's it. And then at some point too, I'm a perfectionist, but at some point you have to let go and you just got to put it
yeah.
out in the market, because if you don't put it on the market, then you can't perfect it.
Well,
It's always going to be in your brain.
you announced it early. Like you were like, tomorrow we're announcing Charm Loons, and like you didn't even have all the details figured out yet. And I remember being like, really? Like but again, at some point you just have to like put it out there.
Well, that's at Flow, the day, since we were vendors this year and it was like this whole new experience. The day before the vendor showcase opened, I told Anthony, no, forget it. I don't wanna take the samples downstairs. I'm like, forget it. Let's just not do it. And he was like, what are you talking about? Like, nope, I don't want to do it. I'm like, we're just gonna sell the bag, sell the apron. We'll tell people it'll ship. We'll sell all the little accessories that we had, the apparel. I'm like, forget it. I'm not doing it. And he was like, no, I'm like, no, I'm like, it's not perfect. He was like, you need to put it out there. He's like, this is the perfect place where you're going to get the best feedback, whether it's negative or positive, whether this is even going to work. And I'm like, nope, nope. And he was like, yes, we're going to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, fine. And then we went back and forth, and I was just like, fine, let's just do it. And we put it out there. And I even remember kind of being like I would kind of keep it in the back, and like if only somebody asked, I would,
Hidden.
yeah, because I was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And I was just kind of trying to ignore it. And Anthony would be like, so did you see the new charm? And I'd be like, oh. But I'm glad he did that. Like, I'm glad he's always the one that pushes me to like not, just get things out there, because
Right.
then, ideas are, everybody has ideas, right? And there's, how many times do you have the same idea as somebody else? So he was like, we just need to put it out there, because like, what are you going to do? And then I was like, fine. And then after we did that, we came back and we had announced that float that we were going to have them for spring 2020, because we were convinced that it was ready to go. But then we started having manufacturing issues, and we were like, oh man, this isn't going to work. Then we started getting backed up. So we were like, forget it. Let's just buy the machine. And we were like, fine, we'll make it them ourselves until we figure this out. Because I also didn't want to keep like, I didn't want to be the person that said, we're launching in 2 months. And then we're like, oh no, just kidding. And another 2 months, oh no, just kidding. And I didn't want to do that. So
Yeah.
we were just like, forget it. Let's just do it ourselves. We'll figure it out. And basically we launched July 20th, and it's done really well. And it's interesting because, and then we started actually wholesaling, which is also new for us.
Yeah.
Started wholesaling to balloon artists, and we have like, we have some accounts already, and we're still figuring out those kinks. My biggest thing is production. I want to be like Amazon. I want to be as fast as possible, but that's not the reality. We are a small business, and it is a handmade item, so
Yeah.
we're working out those kinks, and it's going well, but we're changing things also as we go.
Well, and also too, I hope I'm not sharing too much of your personal life, but like this machine is in your house and you are assembling these like
In my
in
house,
like what, your living room?
in my
Like
living
so
room.
I feel like there are a lot of people that think like in order to do something like this, you need a warehouse and you need 10 employees and you need like
No.
you just need to start, like I'm
Well,
still out of my house. I have a studio attached to my house, which feels like a big upgrade, but like you and I are both advocates of running things really lean
really
until you
lean.
absolutely you
Mm.
have to make that next step, which I think you're getting ready to, right?
Yes, yes, because we, I've done content for such a long time, and our product was so digital. There wasn't a need for me to be in a studio, because the pictures I was photographing came down right away. So like, I didn't need to have I didn't need to have that overhead. There was no need to do that. I'd rather take that overhead and go on vacation and take my kids to Disney every 6 weeks. Like, that's what I looked at it as. So we've always, and my husband too, he's like, we're like, keep it as lean as possible, like as lean as we can. But I didn't want to get into a studio without knowing if these products were going to work.
Right.
So we were like, let's get a few versions out there. Let's see what's happening. Let's do this. It's not. But now we're both on the same page where we're like, okay, I think it's time. And now we're just gonna do it, because it just doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, it is and I'm not an expert in this or anything, but there is this like this point where like you're being too lean and you're actually preventing yourself from growing.
Growing.
Like I was able to run my business out of my basement, and then we moved homes and now I have a studio attached. But like my friend Jamie, who actually we're going to record an episode soon, she has like two middle school boys and doesn't have extra space. She's just like, I'm either going to make my life hell or I need to invest in a rental, a studio.
Correct.
And, so it's not like I'm saying never spend money, but like you wait to that point where like, you need to.
Right, and that's what's happening to us. I'm always very open about this, because I don't like to pretend that. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I am who I'm not. And I'm proud to say that I run a lean business from my house, and we get to keep all that profit. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
I've always been very like, yeah, I run it from my house. I'm super happy. This beautiful wall is in my garage, guys. Like, I'm always like, I'm pretty big. I don't care about that. But as everybody knows, my photo room was my daughter's room, but she sleeps with us because she always comes into our bed. So they were sharing a bedroom. So we were like, she doesn't need a room. Forget him. Like, let's just keep using it as a picture room. But now my son is in middle school. He just started middle school, and she's in fourth grade. So now, and it's different. So now I knew they needed their own space because they were at each other's throats. So even for like homework and all these things. So I was like, okay, I think it's time we have to separate them. And now that we separated them, I was like, well, now it's like the biggest hassle to get a picture is I can't even explain what happens now because before I just had my room. So I just kind of shoved my stuff over, take my picture, had my beautiful lighting. It was ready to go. It was done. Now it's like a production to do that. So now we're like, forget it. We're like, it's time that, like you said, now it's like making our life miserable because we're trying to keep lean. So now we're just going to do it. And I know it'll
Yeah.
grow our business. And now I think we're going to make the step of actually hiring employees because I need somebody, yeah, I need somebody to just keep like my head on because I'm just like all over the place. And
That's
like
so funny because just today, like literally, I just checked my phone because before we started recording, I was like, you know what? I don't know why I'm scared of hiring someone. So I just messaged this girl who, like, I don't even really know, but she works at our favorite coffee shop and she's like just so good. Like, do you know you see
you
people
know
and
that
you're
they're
like,
good, yeah.
that girl is so good at her job. She's so good to talk to people. So I just sent her a message like asking if she wants any part-time work. So
Mhm.
well, I'll let you know how that goes, but I might have accidentally just hired my first employee as well.
Yes. The thing is that like and it's what's that book called again? Chillpreneur?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Chillpreneur, when I love that book. So when I heard that book, I mean, it's obvious. Everybody tells you this, but it like took that time to finally listen to it. When it was, she was like, focus on your area of genius, and I was like, well, my area of genius is coming up with ideas, photographing them, making stuff really pretty. I don't need to keep track whether I have enough labels or not for packaging. Like, I don't need to keep track of that, and neither does my husband. Like, he doesn't need to keep track of that. So that's where we're at now. That we're just like, we need somebody to just help us like operate properly. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like you don't need to, yeah, be printing shipping labels or,
Exactly.
that
I
type
don't
of
need to
stuff.
be at this point now, especially now with this launch. I was like, I don't need to be doing this because I could have been creating Halloween content, but I've been spending 2 days just getting orders out and shipping this. Like, I don't need this. I could have made 2 tutorial videos in 2 days for Halloween.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Well, and also speaking of Halloween, congratulations on your publication.
Thank you. So
What do you call
exciting.
it? What do you call that? You
It's
were
a feature.
published, but I
I
don't
guess like a feature. I don't know.
feature. Well, it was quite a feature. Better Homes and Garden magazine. You had like a 2-page, 3-page
Yes, it
spread.
was a 2-page spread. I couldn't believe it.
Gotten one. I feel like Wisconsin is just like slow. I look everywhere. I want one to hold in my hand to be like, I
I
know this
know.
lady. But congratulations. That is
Thank
so
you. Thank you.
exciting.
It was. It
And
was really exciting.
can I ask like how that happened? Did they reach out to you?
Yeah. So the editor from the magazine reached out to me. I guess she had been following me on Instagram, I think, or she had seen my stuff, and she messaged me. And I want to say it was like in March, maybe like maybe February. I think it was
Did
towards the
you
beginning
like
of the year.
did you like
And
wet your pants? I would have been
no,
like,
because I was like, this is such a lie. I'm like, this is not her. I was like, whatever. But then I looked it up and I was like, wait, no, this lady is for real. So
that's
then she was
amazing.
like, we love these pictures. And she sent me a list of pictures. And she's like, we love this picture, this picture, this picture, this picture. So then I had to send, but I didn't know if they were using all of them. I thought they were just like gathering pictures of like what they were going to use or
Right.
whatever.
You could have been like a little thumbnail or something.
I was positive that I was going to be like in a bottom corner that just said like, and make a popcorn costume out of balloons. Like I was, you know how like they always have like that collaborative, like where it's like a lot of people. That's what I thought it was going to be. And then 3 days before, no, but then they asked me questions too. But because you don't have like editing authority over that, like you don't know what they're gonna do. So I knew that they had asked me questions. Another girl had messaged me. She's like, oh, based off of what I found online, is this accurate, is this whatever. So but I was like, I don't know what's gonna happen. So 3 days before the magazine came out, she emailed me the digitals, and I was like, holy, I was like, I'm like, oh my god. And I hadn't really been like super excited about it
Yeah.
until then, because I was like, wait a minute, wait, wait. This is like, oh my god, I'm like, this is like real, like this is like That's stuff that happens to people that they get featured in these
I
magazines.
Are you gonna frame it? I would frame it. Like,
I'm going to frame it. Yeah. I'm because I've had other features before, like small ones, and it kind of felt like I tend to be very like, what's next? I tend to be very like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And I was like, well, this is a big deal because it was kind of cool when like I opened the magazine. I even got emotional because I was like, oh my god, like I did all these things, and they're not all from the same year. Like some of those pictures are from 3 or 4 years ago, and I'm like, this is crazy to see. Like you don't even realize how long it's been that you've been doing all this work because you're just I'm moving on to the next season. So it was really cool to see. So my husband's like, we have to frame this. We have to frame
yeah.
the full feature. We bought an extra magazine for my daughter so that when she gets older, she can like, we can give it to her and she can like get all
Well,
excited
because
about
she's
it.
featured in it, and I mean, she's a lot younger then, isn't she?
She was, I think that picture was during the pandemic. So it was in
She
2020.
was little.
She was
Yeah.
little. She was like 6 or 7.
Well, congratulations. I can't wait to get my copy, but it's just yeah, it must be surreal. Like it's such a mainstream magazine that you can like well, in theory walk into the store and buy, but none of my dumb stores have it yet. But
Well,
eventually.
we had a hard time finding it
It's
too.
early. It's
Well, it
early.
was
It's not
early. That's what
Halloween
it
yet.
was. That's what it was.
Yeah.
'Cause we
So
went
I
to
will
look
get
for it the
mine.
day it came out, and then I was like, nobody has it.
I know. Be
It
like,
was like,
excuse me, where's my magazine?
and it was a Friday, so we were like, "Oh, it's probably a Friday." Like the magazine, because there's like separate companies that go into the stores and physically put these magazines in.
Sure.
So I'm like, "Oh, you know what? They probably are like Friday." The guy's like, "I'm not gonna go put it in," so he's probably putting it in the next week. So I'm like,
I went to Target with Zach and we were both like cracking up at the magazines they did have, but not yours. It was like low carb freedom magazine. I was like, magazine. Like, where are the magazines?
"Low
But yeah,
carb." Oh my god, that's so funny. Low carb
I
freedom
like
magazine.
I like took a picture. It was like fishing daily. I was like, what are these ridiculous magazines?
Like, where's Better Homes and Garden?
yeah, I don't know,
It
but
was
I will
Halloween
get mine
stuff,
eventually.
but yeah,
Very
it was
cool.
cool. It
Well,
was really cool.
congratulations on everything. We'll obviously link to your shop so people can get. Are there aprons left? Can people even buy
Yeah,
anything?
there's still aprons left. Yeah, there's still. We
Okay.
bought a lot this time. We bought more. We bought double the amount that we bought last time.
Well, good. Well, I'm excited. And then, is this? I don't know. Can I say where you're going to be next, or is that a secret still?
Well, I hope I get my confirmation today. So by then, actually I'll be there by then.
Oh, okay. Well, if I cut this part out, then, but if I didn't, you're going to GlobalCon, so that's
Yes,
exciting.
that is exciting. I'm excited. I'm really excited about that. Actually, I don't know why I'm suddenly so excited. It's
No, it's gonna be a good time.
gonna be fun.
Well, I am so excited for all your success. It is so well deserved.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for from someone who consumes and uses your product. Thank you, because it was much needed. The bag, the aprons, the accessories. I'm very excited to use all of it.
And I would love, thank you so much for having me on again. I really appreciate it. And I would love to take this chance to say that I love feedback and I love any ideas. I'm here, like I am a balloon artist. I am part of this community and I want us to like look really cute and have functional stuff. So I'm always like open to ideas, like I really love it. So please
Like,
DM me.
what's the best way if someone actually has some feedback, like Instagram or like
Instagram.
how should they
Like
get?
for things like that, Instagram. Because I actually check my Instagram DMs more than I check my email.
Okay, cool.
Which I shouldn't, but
Well, the Creative Heart Studio, we probably all follow you anyway, but thank you so much for
well,
your
thank you,
hat
Sarah.
trick appearance. Third time's a charm.
I know. Wow, that's so cool.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much.